What's up, guys? It's your boy Impulse back at it again with another response. This time, we're going to respond to Rationality Rules and Alex O'Connor. We're going to be discussing on the vegan bodybuilder controversy, vegan fat people controversy, and Alex also touches on similar things, but he also touches on the rights of animals. I'll respond to them using what I developed was the surplus objection, or you can call it the safety net objection as well, if you really want to, because that's really what's capturing it. So let's get into it.
Because I think that would be interesting. So, when talking with non-vegans, the topic of crop deaths often comes up all the time, and the non-vegan will often criticize the vegan for killing insects, moles, mice, and destroying entire ecosystems for their crops, and thus they're accusing the vegan of being hypocritical, all ground that we've covered already, right?
Yeah.
This, of course, misses the point, since veganism is about reducing as much pain as possible, at least as you've specified. It depends on the vegan, but that tends to be the case. And a vegan diet requires less crop deaths than an omnivore one. However, how does the vegan justify eating at a deliberate calorie surplus? You are called lifting vegan logic, and you're interested in bodybuilding, but to build muscle, you must eat at a calorie surplus. Are you not unnecessarily hurting animals by requiring a greater number of crop deaths?
So,
Alrighty, that's the vegan bodybuilder objection. How does the vegan bodybuilder, defend the idea that they're eating at a surplus?
Surprised when they learn I'm veggie. They're like, "Oh, where do you get it from?" I'm like, "Dude, there's been a
is on social media and they're trying to.
You could say look, if I can show you that we're going to convince more people to join, every day, then I'm in trouble. But are fat vegans immoral? So just as bodybuilding necessitates deliberately eating at a calorie surplus, which entails causing additional crop deaths, we can apply the same logic to fat vegans. Are fat vegans violating their own principles when eating a calorie surplus?
Yeah, so...
Okay, so my answer to this is no. Let's go to Alex and see how he puts it.
On that site. Has anything about your start this to say is that the main reason that I stopped being these are the main reasons EPUB has changed. Factory farming is still and industry reform. I think veganism outside of factory farming. So the wrongness of because a lot of vegans will say, okay, sure, you can sort of raise a cow right, and as long as you're causing any amount of unnecessary suffering and certainly death to an animal, that's something that's wrong. I started to realize that I don't think you can concretely hold to this principle, that unnecessary infliction of suffering on animals is always wrong. I'll tell you why. It's food that you don't need to eat to be healthy, and might actually be junk food. So that is food that you don't need to eat to be healthy and might actually be bad for your health, vegan chocolate, vegan cakes, whatever. And the sort of vegan approach to eating these products. I mean, I don't see a lot of vegans condemning the concept of eating vegan junk food, but it's worth reflecting on. The concept of crop deaths comes up a lot in this vegan discussion, and it's kind of memed upon by the vegan community because, of course, it's ridiculous to suggest, as many people do, that you shouldn't be a vegan because don't you know that animals are killed in crop production? It's a silly thing to say because we kill far more animals in the production of crops directly. So that crop death argument just doesn't work at all, and like I say, it's sort of a joke to reflect on. And it's to do with this concept of unnecessary vegan food. And like I say, it started with the junk food consideration, but a bet with him about is the concept of a vegan bodybuilder. So a bodybuilder, at least when they're bulking, when they're trying to grow, is somebody who will intentionally eat an extra maybe 200-300 calories every single day, maybe even more. And they're doing so for reasons that, strictly speaking, are completely unnecessary to their health. It's health related in that they're trying to sort of reach peak performance or peak size or whatever it is, but you don't need to grow to remain healthy. You can eat your maintenance calories for the rest of your life and be perfectly fine and thrive indeed. So if you're bodybuilding, if you're trying to build muscle, you are eating food that you do not need to eat to be healthy. Here's the thing, so long as animals are killed in crop production, and as long as you're eating food that is unnecessary to your health, you are causing unnecessary suffering and death to animals.
Okay. Now that the cards have been played on the table, we have a couple objections. We have fat people, junk food, and bodybuilding, vegan bodybuilding. It would be really nice to find a response that deals with all these three without having to commit to much, right? Having to commit to many principles. So, on the outset, first thing to be noted is that this idea assumes a type of utilitarian view about ethics. That being said, something like increasing suffering is bad. Unnecessary suffering is bad, right? So I'm going to assume, for the sake of discussion, utilitarianism is true. Fine. I think I can respond to these objections while accepting utilitarianism. Now, what would be the response? My response is that whenever we have food, it's actually a net good to have a surplus. A surplus of food is a net good. How do I motivate this? Well, presumably, let's say there's like a fire in a crop, in like a land of crop or something like that. You can also, it doesn't just have to be fire. It can be like, let's say there's a tornado, destroys the land. You can say there's a hurricane, destroys the land. There's an earthquake, destroys the land. Anything that causes destruction to the land is susceptible to this response. Okay, so anything that causes a destruction to the land is bad. So the reason why we have a net, so let's say this is what we would need to keep everybody eating at a level. Like everybody, let's say 50% is what everybody eats. And let's say we want an increase there. Let's say the increase is more towards 65% in cases of destruction to the land. So we can have a food system that we can rely on in cases, let's say Florida gets hit by a crazy hurricane that destroys a lot of the land. Places from other states can bring in food and supply it to Florida. The safety net works as a mediator to allow wiggle room so we're not always struggling to eat food. Another condition, right? Say, also eating at a surplus. I know this is going to be more minimal, but this is just another consideration. Let's say, like, another consideration that why we eat or we buy at a surplus is in case food turns out to, in fact, be bad. Let's say, for example, by bad I mean like it's spoiled. This is just one consideration. So let's say I buy 2 bags of Gardein meat, right? One is good, one is bad. I could, for the day, just buy the one and then go home and eat it. But then what happens is that, let's say, I get home, it's spoiled, it's bad. If I eat this, something could happen. I could increase suffering upon myself. My health depletes, I get sick or something like that. But instead, let's say if I buy 2 bags, one is bad, one is good. Okay, bad one, I can throw it away. Or if you really want to, you could feed it out to the animals outside. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how it affects them in a negative way. I'm not sure. Not saying anything that you should or shouldn't, just saying that's an idea. But I can rely on the excess food as a way to supplement the food that I couldn't eat, right? So another way to deal with this is that we can also, by growing large amounts of food in the area, we can feed people across the world. Now, whether in fact we're doing that, that's up to debate. Let's leave it at that. If we could send food to other countries to help them from some type of let's say Haiti gets hit with an earthquake, we bring food from our own, we send it to them. That's relief. We're helping them with relief. But the reason why we can do that is because we have a surplus of food. Now, why do we do this? Now, why junk food? Junk food helps us maintain a high caloric surplus, right? If someone requires some high caloric surplus, the same some other starving nation, we can give it to them because of something they require some caloric surplus. We can give it to them. Boom, they're satisfied. But that's only, I don't want to say possible, but I'm going to use that liberally. I'm going to use possibility as liberally, okay? That's only possible insofar as we have those high caloric processed foods. Fat people, bodybuilders, and having these types of food help us maintain that safety net, that caloric safety net, where that wiggle room where we can like play with our food in the sense that send it to other people, send it to people in the States or people outside the States in cases of mass destruction of crops, right? Mass destruction of crops. So the net positive, it's actually bodybuilders and fat people are probably just doing something net positively good. Yeah, so that's pretty much for that one. I think the net positive food surplus, I think solves, as a safety net, solves this issue of the bodybuilding and the fat people. It's good to have a net surplus of food. I think that seems plausible to me. Now, what can they say? What can Alex say? Alex can say, well, okay, fine, but what about factory farming? Factory farming itself is very, it allows us to have a surplus of food. So if this surplus objection is true, then we should allow the surplus. We should allow the surplus of killing and eating of animals. Well, two things to say here, right? Just because we allow a surplus, that doesn't mean we allow any surplus, right? So there might be like a mediator, there might be like a medium there where maybe between 65% we allow for like an extra increase of food, let's say like a 10%, 50% increase of food to allow for that wiggle room, and bodybuilders help us maintain that. But anything greater is morally unjustified because it causes unnecessary suffering or something like that. Anything above that. What is it? Damn it. Factory farm could just be that case where, and I think most vegans, at least in this sense, would probably say, yeah, that is that case. Where it's above the threshold of net positive necessary food surplus. Now, let's grant for the sake of discussion that, okay, in principle, net surplus is good. Let's just say that. What to make of this? Well, vegans think, and I think I share this agreement, but I'm going to conditionalize it because I don't have the studies on hand. I'm not going to pull them up. I'm just responding. Actually, if we swapped from animal agriculture to plant agriculture, we would have an even greater surplus. Why? Because plants have to go through this middle ground of feeding the animals and then the animals feeding the humans. Instead, what we can do, just take the plants and just feed it straight to the humans. I'm doing a lot of hand stuff. Now, what does this do? Okay, if the vegan is right, that it takes more crops, more land, more water, right, to use it for animal agriculture, then it's just simply false to say that animal agriculture creates a surplus of food for everyone. Actually, through plant-based agriculture, we would have an even greater surplus, or maybe about the same. If it's about the same, then it just go towards the one that doesn't cause as much suffering. Okay, that's the surplus objection. Yep, that's all I had to say. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Impulse. Please like, subscribe, share. This is a topic I've been really thinking about. Maybe later I'll do a response to Alex's rights violation approach. I do have a response for that. So yeah, if you guys like it, enjoy vegan world. And this is, I don't know, man, I'm just talking. But yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, guys, and you guys have a wonderful day or night.